Hey everybody, this is Dusk for Dust of Dawn Gaming. Just a friendly reminder, if you like what we're seeing on the channel, please consider subscribing. If you like this particular video, give us a thumbs up. Alright, so Standard's slowly growing, evolving. We've had a couple big events now, a couple GPs, a couple of Star City Games Classics. We have the Pro Tour coming up here in a couple weeks. So, one of the bigger lists that's been floating around has been Boros Angels, which we've played a little bit on the channel. This is an older list, obviously. It's not playing Tecatli Honor Guard in the main deck, so this is like one of the older first couple week lists. But from the red, you gain access to Aurelia and Deafening Clarion, Lightning Strike, the other red cards. Selesnya Angels is kind of almost a mashup between tokens and what's up, Space Marine? Almost a mashup between tokens and angels. Surprisingly, unlike last standard season with the green, white, and the Naya Angels list, it's not using a ramp to get to the angels. It's playing a bunch of powerful 2-drops, some histories, Resplendent Angels, and then just kind of going up the chain. You've got Thorn Lieutenant here, which can be a pain in the red deck side. Tecatli Honor Guard here, which is kind of a main deck sideboard slot against things like Golgari, pretty much. Knight of Grace is, you know, a 2/2 first striker, kind of hard for a lot of cards to attack around that. Jaunta Vanguard. That's sweet, Space Marine. It's a 1/1, but when it attacks, it's a 3/1. Can be hard to kill for direct damage spells. Resplendent Angel, it's a 3/3 flyer for 3, but has an activated ability. You start getting a bunch of life. This can kind of spiral out of control. History Benelia is usually a 2-for-1. You get 2 knights out of the deal, plus copies of being able to fire off the ultimate there. Johnny helps pump out all your early guys. You can also get some of them back. Shalai helps protect your things. You also are able to activate the activated ability in the late game with this deck. Ixalan's Binding is kind of a I don't think of it. That's the only actual removal spell in the early game. Don't know if I like that. Ixalan's Binding here can help dealing with problematic permanents you want to get rid of for the rest of the game. And then Lyra and Vivian Reed. Lyra is your big closer. Gives your other angels lifelink, so you're a Resplendent Angel and Shalai. Vivian Reed, card advantage, also able to destroy artifacts, enchantments, and creatures with flying. Flower Flourish. Flower enables you to kind of skimp on your land count a little bit. Morning War Dog. Flourish, helps to finish off the game in the late game, and then Assure gives, able to creature live through a wrath or something, or through combat. Assemble gives you another mana sink in the late game to pump up your team with a bunch of 2/2 knights, which can go well with History of Benelia if you have one getting ready to come off the next turn. Sideboard, Sorcerer's Spyglass, deal with Planeswalkers, Knight of Autumn for various situations where you need abilities to destroy enchantments or artifacts, when you need some life gain, or you just need another beatdown creature. Tendershoot Dryad, not quite sure what matchups you're bringing this in. Obviously, it gives you an army in a can. Vivian Reed, much like one that's in the main deck, it's card advantage, able to deal with certain different types of permanents, including other flyers. Carnage Tyrant for the control decks. Cleansing Nova and Settle the Wreckage against other creature decks. Conclave Tribunal when you need some more spot removal against planeswalkers or creatures, and then Seal Away when you need some more spot removal. So, pretty much the deck in a nutshell. I'll see how it goes. We've played a little bit of the Boros version. Haven't had a chance to... No, the deck is not missing the color blue. You probably think... sometimes, Space Marine, I think you think Pock should have blue in it, too. Cannot keep this hand. Seem to be having a lot of these one-landers lately. I guess we try to scry. Yeah, I guess that counts as a land, sort of. Ironically, as dumb as you say that, there's actually been a blue-red version of Goblins and Legacy. As much as you're being flippant about it. Against mono blue tempo, this should be an interesting exercise. Unfortunately, the severe lack of removal is going to punish us if they have Tempest Jin here. It's nice of our opponent to give us a free 1/1. It wasn't a good version, War Dog. I just remember there being like a blue-red goblins was splashing for, I think, like Force of Will, and there's a goofy goblin that is I don't know if we're going to be able to beat that card, to be completely honest. Probably gonna get countered, but eh. Yep. Because most people that play blue-white don't like running win cons, pretty much. And in the control mirror, it's absolutely horrible. They're just dead here, so let's go to the next game. Lack of removal against a bunch of flyers is definitely an issue. Probably want Vivian Reed, as much as chances of her resolving aren't very high. Couple copies of Seal Away. Let's get these Kali Honor Guards out of here. They're very much garbage. Bring that in. Bring the Settles in. Bring in Cleansing Nova. Get rid of this one. Other cards are kind of in this matchup. Those ones all make sense. Archangel makes sense. The problem with that is most control decks are running a number of sweepers. So one Terminus or Supreme Verdict later and your entire win con's blown to heck. That's probably why it doesn't see a bunch of play. Like, I played a 50-plus minute control mirror last night against a very good control player, and it's a lot of jockeying for position and whatnot. Now, granted, I'm on Jeskai, he was on blue-white, so the game was a little bit weird, but there's very rarely an opportunity to land something that big. Yeah, as long as you can buy enough time, it is. Yeah, and you know what? Ironically, the night I started out 2-0, I played against Burn, and then Burn, and then I played against Red-White Taxes, and beat those two, and then we played the Control Mirror, which was interesting. Game 1 I won because I was able to land a couple Planeswalkers. Game 2, he was basically able to color screw me into winning. And then Game 3, we both were playing pretty good. Well, in most post-board games, you board out the whatevers anyway. But there's a ton of negates, logic knots, cryptic commands, that kind of stuff, so. And besides, I wasn't necessarily explaining it just for your benefit, my man. Opponent is stuck on mana, which is definitely a problem we've noticed with the yeah, I ended up going 2-2 last night. I conceded the last match because besides being brain fried from the blue-white mirror, my opponent was on Ponza, and I just wasn't sitting through that nonsense just to try to win a pack or two. Dude, that's the first. Last night was the first time we've had. In the last 3 weeks I've gone. The first week it was Boggles and Burn heavy. Last weekend it was Tron and just a bunch of other random nonsense. Last night was 2 Ponza decks, 2 Burn decks, 2 Tron decks, a blue-white control deck, Eldrazi Tron. So, sorry, War Dog, that sucks, man. But last night was just like so weird. And, you know, honestly, I was very happy to play the Blue-White Mirror. That was one of the matchups with Jeskai I wanted to play. Got a feel for how the matchup goes. I mean, I still need more practice, which is fine. Yeah, I lost on turn 4 of extra turns. We had some big back and forths, but my opponent just simply... We got to a point where my opponent resolved it was either a Lyra or a Baneslayer. He spreading seized my Celestial Colonnade, so I couldn't block. And he had his own Colonnade and he had his own Colonnade and his own Lyra, and I was at 8 8 life from having to take a lot of damage from my own mana base to be able to fetch out my colored sources because he was color screwing me pretty hard. So he I would say you're incorrect, man. I think that build of blue-white was better. Because he was able... Basically, he won the match because he was able to color screw me. I mean, that's a risk you take with a deck. This is probably a Merfolk Trickster. That's why I was playing everything pre-combat there. Yep. Exactly as I thought it was. My opponent's trying to race me. So I was taking advantage of their obvious play pattern here. I have no idea. I think it depends on what's played first. Whatever's played first is, yeah, I have no idea. It makes it an island, but I don't know that it makes it a basic island. So, I guess it depends on the layering. It'll probably be counted as a basic island, yeah. But when you're only playing, oh. What's up, Janchovic? I'm sure there's a bunch of judge questions about it, so... Opponent goes to attacks and then concedes. Seems pretty good. That said, we were lucky they got stuck on lands. Otherwise, that game would have been a lot harder. Probably actually want to Kosh a lie. This hand seems alright. I mean... Now we'll theoretically be able to go Knight into history. We know Knight will probably resolve here. Yep, especially if they do that. So they either just drew the Mist Herald, or they want to protect it with Dive Down, which is kind of funny because if you know White's removal suite. That's not the easiest thing to do. Yep, got a Curious Obsession. Alright. If we get Spell Pierced here, we get Spell Pierced here. It's pretty much going to be the game. Drawn way too many lands. Try to thin the deck a little bit more. But we have definitely lost this game. Maybe I should have gone for the knight, but that history was getting tagged anyway, and it was really our only way to race, so... Get to play this Vivian Reed, watch it get countered, and then lose. Wow. Yep. So, unsurprisingly, the tempo deck is able to handle green-white tap-out stuff. Some of the decks play... Chihuahua. Guess we keep this one. Just grind to a land. Now we might just die to Mana Screw here. Excuse me. Which one, the mono white one or the Angels? Yeah, it doesn't seem very impressive. May not have been correct, but at the same time, I really can't afford to keep taking 3 a turn either. It's possible I should have just put a tap land in and played one of our 2-drops. They don't want Legacy to be playable. Wizards wants Legacy to die. Wow. Honestly, I think blue-white control is... Thanks, Wardog. Unfortunately, all you're witnessing is me getting my hind end kicked. Yeah, let's go to the next game. Definitely want a removal package. Probably can cut Vivian Reed. I guess the Tecatlis aren't that great in this matchup. Bring Knight of Bottoms in. Maybe this is supposed to be a Tenor Shoot Dryad matchup. My man, you do realize that most of the Legacy decks run like 20 lands, right? Between Brainstorm, Ponder, Portent, and Predict, you don't need that many lands. Yes, and lands also doesn't have any of the above cards in it. Janshavik. Smart Alec. Plus it also plays things like Explorer and Life from Loam. Yeah, Delver decks are also a little bit lower to the ground than Control too. And ironically, play less cantrips. It has. It's been reprinted as a promo. Someday I might when I have more time. The problem with Facebook groups is Facebook groups can get you in trouble. A lot. Especially when you already have to manage a YouTube channel where people make comments about, where some people's comments are very disparaging, shall we say. Well, to be fair, Travis was also a little cavalier about how he handled things on his thing too, so he literally created a joking Magic group called Magic for Bad. And some of the comments and stuff got out of hand and it got reported, and that's why he was banned. And so we really kind of need to draw our I don't think we can survive this turn, but I say, I'm pretty sure we're still very dead here. Yeah, figured as much. It's worth it because a lot of the blue mirrors you really don't want to keep in Force of Will. And Pyroblast and Red Elemental Blast answer a lot of the problematic stuff in the match. Outside of Flusterstorm, it answers Jace, it answers Teferi, it answers True Name Nemesis on the stack, it answers a lot of the blue mirror breakers. That's why a lot of the Grixis decks go to Liliana the Last Hope as their preferred win con rather than Jace. Yeah, this hand seems perfectly fine. And a lot of those decks also splash for a lot of those decks also splash for Blood Moon in some number. It depends on the build. The straight blue-white play back to basics. The red splash usually plays Blood Moon. I just said some of them, I didn't say all. No, those decks are, excuse me, most definitely not in the line to get Bolt. Sorry, throat was bugging me there for a minute. I had to take a drink. This feels like the kind of deck this deck beats up on. Just saying. I don't know how I feel about this deck overall, but this definitely feels like a pretty positive matchup overall. Risk factor. Yeah, but I don't... in this particular case, I didn't want my opponent to draw cards, because I know I have this Lyra to kind of close the door pretty quickly. Now my opponent's going to get to draw cards by flashing back Risk Factor, but then they won't be able to cast anything off of it. So it's kind of whatever here. Sure, Chain Whirler is a thing. If their last card's a Bolt effect, we're dead. You have your third... God. Bless, that's BS. Jan, me taking 4 from Risk Factor, yeah, was not good. But my opponent had to have a very, very specific subset of draws to win that game. They literally had to have Wizard's Lightning was the only card, and they'd already cast 2 copies of it. So the literal odds that the plays that were made lined up like that were so small it was ridiculous. Actually, Honor Guard's quite good against red. Yeah, Vanguard's worse, but we still want early creatures to interact with early creatures. Should you have a beer before 10 a.m.? Well, technically it's 10:26 a.m. here, so do whatever you want, man. I don't think I had to try very hard, my man. I mean, this deck seems fine. I don't know. I severely dislike White's removal in this format. And just playing a deck with no removal feels kind of garbage. Sure, get in your 1 point of damage. I don't think it's particularly great either. Yeah, I was probably correct before combat. I wanted to see... I was basically trying to see if I could bait my opponent into using, like, Shock, Wizard's Lightning on Shalai. But it's unlikely they had it at that point. Guess we keep. I mean, this isn't the greatest. I guess being Wizards Red, they can't run Fanatical Firebrand. Guess we run out to Cotley in case their next card is good old Chain Whirler. I don't know, they might. That's unfortunate. Not unforeseen, but unfortunate. Fortunately, this time I think we have to let them draw the cards. Oh. Shalai shuts down risk factor. That's funny. Um, fight with fire usually. So our opponent had to sweep their own board to get rid of one. Oh, that is fantastic. Nope. I will take the 4 damage because there's no one card you can have here that'll kill me. Hey, we won a match. Yay. I think... I don't know. This seems to have some issues. I don't know how to answer them all. Lack of removal in the main deck's definitely a problem. I think the one of random Assure Assemble can probably go goodbye. I think one copy of a Johnny can go by. Beyond that, I could easily see, you know, finding a couple slots of just Conclave Tribunal in the main deck. I've never been a huge fan of this Ajani in any of these decks. I mean, it's fine for leveraging when you're ahead or to kind of lock up a board stall, but this card does not help you when you're behind at all. I don't know. I've not been a huge fan of this card. The rest of the deck seems reasonable. I don't think it's great, but it's reasonable. I think I'd rather play the Boros version. But I can definitely see the appeal to the green-white cards. Wouldn't be surprised to see Naya at some point moving forward, too. Just because of the good Naya cards. especially once we get Stomping Ground. Maybe, but a lot of times playing a 4 mana to get a 2 cost back when you're already behind on board isn't all that great. But yeah, maybe there's some situations. This format seems to be a lot about snowballing, and this format feels a lot of times if you fall behind, generally speaking, unless you have something like a sweeper, you're not catching back up. Like Mono Blue, I've had a couple of games where I've come back from being behind, but a lot of times you just don't catch back up once your opponent pulls ahead. So, I mean, the deck was fun to play. We'll definitely pick it up again, but I'm going to switch over to some Modern. As soon as I can get the cards, I'll be playing some Titan Shift. Not exactly the most interesting deck to play or watch, but it did well this past weekend at SCG Charlotte in the hands of Becky Aldman, so we'll go ahead and pick that up for a couple matches, see how that goes, and we'll probably switch over to some... either take a break after that or switch over to some Burn after that. We'll see. But I'll be back in hopefully 5 to 10 minutes. Depends on how long it takes me to get the cards to play some Titan Shift. And hope to catch everybody later. If you're watching this and you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. And if you like what you're seeing, please give it a thumbs up. And if you saw anything that I maybe misplayed or maybe missequenced, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section. This has been Dusk for Dustin on Gaming.